right, welcome to the Snowflake Sports Podcast. We are back after a pretty long hiatus, and I apologize for that. Just had to take some time for myself. But we are joined by a man that just does not only love cats, but he also loves dogs. It is Fritz Kaltenbach, if I can say your name right. How you doing, Fritz?
Yeah, I mean, that's true depending on whichever Instagram handle you're on. But, yeah, good to be here, Dan. Super happy. Hey, sweetheart, how you doing? I got a little baby bulldog in my lap right now. She's so cute. She's like 3 months old.
Probably adorable. I always love your stories of the, like 12 dogs you're taking care of. All right, to go into what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the Knicks extending their winning streak to 9 games, 80's homecoming return in the tough loss to the Mavs. Then we're going to break down, we're going to do our NFL draft top 10 mock draft. That will be happening this Thursday. Then we're going to do way too early off-brand NFL award predictions. Then we're going to close with Derek Chauvin case. And then Dan Fritz TV, movie, book, other recommendations to, end on a positive note for once. So, okay, the Knicks are finally good again. This is great. I love this. This is I've made fun of the Knicks so much as like any non-Knicks fan was, but I just like them being good now. It's just fun that they're being relevant. So this is like the first time that they're good in 20 years. So I guess, Fritz, how are you handling the Knicks Mafia right now?
This feels, oh man, I'm trying to think of like a good like a good analogy here, but it almost feels like the Bills or well, not so much the Cowboys, but you know what? I think the Bills is probably a good one. The Bills, Dan, as you, a member of the Mafia, understand the delusionality of Bills fans until you guys got Josh Allen. Like, I can't tell you how many times in my life I heard, this is our year, with no fucking evidence to show that it was your year. And it's the same thing with Knicks fans, but, like, not even just Knicks fans. It's, like, everything in the community, like anything in, like, sports talk shows and commentary. It's always like, well, where's LeBron gonna go? Where's KD gonna go? Where is Zion going to get drafted to? Maybe they're going to get Zion, Kyrie, and KD, and then probably like 8 more stars. Like, I have never understood it. Like, yeah, it's in New York, but like, the Knicks were good in the 70s, and that's it. Like, we talk about the Knicks like they're the Spurs. Like, fucking why? They have never been relevant. Like, they were good at getting their dicks kicked in by Jordan, and like, they were a good team, but not by any means like a legendary team, you know? Like, they have been historically a very, very, very bad team. It's like the Jaguars. Like,
yeah, but it's like the fan base is the thing that carries it. Like, they're just a huge New York fan base. Like, basketball, a ton of people come out of New York City to play like in the NBA specifically.
It's literally just because it's MSG, like the mecca of basketball. But it's always been so foreign to me because like I understand that like players love to play there, on the road. But like with all of like these other teams, like Cowboys fans are delusional and Bills fans for the longest time, but like the Cowboys won a whole bunch of Super Bowls and the Bills went to a whole bunch of Super Bowls. Like, the Knicks have been relevant like for such a razor thin amount of time in like the existence of the NBA. I don't know. And honestly, right now they're on a notable but like not crazy win streak. Like, what are they, the 5th seed right now?
Yeah, something like that, 5th or 4th. I forget.
That's like winning they're acting like they're the 1 seed. Like Knicks fans. And that's the standard. I mean, that's where they're at. Like, they're finally winning games. And it's like, oh, it's such big news because they've been so bad for so long. And, like, they're a really young team, and I haven't taken a deep look at like how their competition was in this 9-game win streak, but I mean, it's a professional sport. People can get on hot streaks. Like, you have and you know, vice versa. You have uh, like a team like Boston, who has 2 All-Stars, which, you know, is debatable, but Boston's been not good this year. You know, like, and for not really a good reason. You know, it's not like they lost big pieces. It's not like they have a new coach.
So Tatum, right? He got COVID, and he's like a long hauler of COVID, which is like a legitimate. I would say a legitimate excuse to be bad at basketball if you can't. Like, he has to take like asthma before games. That's like a legitimate excuse, I'd say, for him. And they've been bad, but they like have kind of come together. Recently. So,
that's fair. But I mean,
continue.
it's like it's basketball. Like, stuff goes up and down. I'm putting if the Knicks were a stock, I would not invest $1 in them. Like, if you make some noise in the playoffs, I'll be like, okay, let's give it a couple years. Let's see what they're doing. But like, you win 9 games in a row, it's neat. You know, like, everybody's freaking out that KD dropped 33 in a like what his 3rd comeback game of this year. Like, yeah, it's Kevin Durant. How long have we known that Kevin Durant can just get plugged to any system and get 30 plus points? Like, there's so many like narratives over like sports media were just like, Kevin Durant just like fucking sends a message. Like, no, he did what he always does, and he's probably going to get hurt again in 2 weeks. Like, I'm not looking that much into it, honestly.
All right, so just with the Knicks stuff. So, I mean, I know this isn't big, but they beat my Raptors twice, and I feel like that's a significant win. I'm kind of joking at this point. But they beat the Hawks, they beat the Hornets, they beat the Pelicans, they beat the Lakers without AD, and they beat the Mavs, and that was and then they beat the Grizzlies in OT. But like, so recently, right? They had a comeback win over the Hawks.
Most of those are like fringe good teams.
Right, but this is the Knicks, right? Like,
I know,
they would lose
yeah.
all those games, right? The fact that, like, so their, was it, over-under was like 21.5 this year, and they broke that like 45 games in. The fact that they're above that is just like a win and an accomplishment.
Hey, I'm not saying that they don't have guys.
Yeah.
Like, Julius Randle is definitely an all-star. That guy's having a fantastic year, and you know, they got a lot of young guys on the team. I think they'll be like, you know, they're on their way up, is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not putting any stock into them this year, but I think it's a good sign to come because their team is so young. Like, I think they finally got a coach that's, you know, halfway decent and or good, and like enough young talent to build around, if that makes sense. Like, I think that they've got a good roadmap, whereas like most teams, like, man, I'm a Cavs fan, you know that, and fucking dude, Sexland has been blowing up this year, but they're not winning games because they don't have their shit together. Like, they got the pieces, but they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. So just going off of like Randall's just crazy. So he had 40 points in the comeback win against the Hawks, and he had 31 against the Raptors Sunday, sorry. And then so he's averaging 41% from 3 on 5.3 attempts per game, which is like career high. And like last year he was shooting 27 from 3 on 3.6 attempts a game. So that's just ascension alone is incredible. And then like RJ Barrett, like, he's not getting as much like fame behind, like, because like Julius Randle is like a pretty much will win the most improved player. There's some other people around there like Zach LaVine or just some other people that could beat him. But I'd be kind of shocked if he doesn't win it. But RJ Barrett, right? He's a more efficient shooter. His free throw percentage has gone from like 74% to 60, or like from 61%. And then he's improved his 3-point average to like average at 38% from 32. So it's just like those little tweaks like will take your team from the bottom to like a good team. And like they're in a spot, they're fourth, right? They could win a playoff series. They could beat the Hawks, right? Or if they run into the Celtics or one of these like mid-tier teams that have just like not really come together. And I don't know, so like the whole Thibodeau thing too, right? Is they're just playing hard defense. They're like scramming all over the place. Like people are running in their face. Their defense is still fourth best in the league. And now their offense is like 19th, which is basically average. Like they're pretty close to 15 when you actually look at the numbers. And it's just the fact that they've come from like just like the past decade, they've just been such bottom feeders. Like with like Melo and stuff, they could like, yo, like we won a playoff series, like that's fun, you know. And it's just the fact that they're back like in the playoffs, they're like could win a playoff series. Like this is just, it's so shocking to think, like especially at the beginning of the year because they didn't really do anything. But like they weren't the Knicks, like they didn't trade up, you know, to get Anthony Edwards or something. So it's like it's just weird.
All right. So anyway, I have a rebut. Now I think that when we're analyzing these players in the NBA, I think we should take any drastic like offensive improvements with a grain of salt, because if you look all over the league, players all over the league are having like drastic like career years offensively. And I think a lot of that is attributed to the pandemic and the early start of the season. Players are exhausted for getting like at like literally the shortest rest they've ever gotten in their professional careers. And then the number one thing that they're like the first thing that they're going to concede is defense all over the league. Like nobody's playing defense this year. That's, I mean, like the Lakers have the number one defense in the league and LeBron and AD have been out. So nobody's really playing defense.
That's totally fair. That's very legit.
I also think like I genuinely think Adam Silver should be getting some heat for the season, for condensing it and not giving these players the break that they need, because who has not gotten injured this year?
I cannot tell you. I mean, Luka's been fine, I think, right? Maybe he got injured? I forget. It's a lot though. Like KD's been injured all year. The whole Nets roster has
LeBron, AD,
Dame has been out, right?
Giannis, Jamal Murray just tore his ACL. Donovan Mitchell just twisted his ankle. Like star players all over the league have just been constantly getting injured this year, and it's 100% because LeBron alone, the guy that never gets injured. So I don't know. I think he should be getting a little bit of heat for that. Like he's putting the physical health of these players at risk just for ratings. And I mean, I understand people wanted to play, and there's also the bubble, but like there are ways they could have shortened the season, you know? Like I don't think anybody would have really had a big argument if they're like, you know what, guys, we're gonna play 60 games this season. Like I don't think anybody would have had a huge objection to that. But
yeah, so like players would probably not have a huge objection, but it's the owners / governors now that would be like, we're going to lose all this revenue if we don't play the extra, 12 games.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I do blame Silver for that, but like I think he's just trying to mediate both those sides. And obviously, like we shouldn't ever try to side with like governors or owners or anything, but like I see why he's trying to balance that and keep this like safe thing. And he's just been so like forward thinking for the most part that like little blimps like this I feel like aren't that big of a deal. But like when it comes to injuries, I totally get what you're saying, and like you should care more about your, not even just your stars, but just like everyone through the roster. The guys 4 to 8 too are probably hurting as well. But since you were talking about the Lakers, and LeBron at least is his injury, so AD came back in a tough loss to the Mavs, and he did not play that great. He kind of looked lost on defense. He shot 5 of 18 from the field and laid up a big old goose egg from 3 off of 6 attempts. And this is like they played against a legitimate Mavs team who I think is 7th. But how worried? I guess you as a LeBron fan, stan, whatever you want to call it, like rooting for the Lakers because the Cavs are just not doing it. How worried are you about AD's return?
There's I have a bit of a multi-layered answer to this. In terms of Anthony Davis, I am concerned. Mostly because like he was so like lights out good in the bubble, and like even at the beginning of the year he didn't look that good, and everybody was really kind of expecting him to take a leap. But he's been out for 2 months, and it's not like it's the same roster from last year. Like they shipped off like half the guys from the championship roster. So it is a drastically different team. I am slightly concerned. I'm like 50-50 on AD right now. Like I think give him some time and he'll get his shit together. He'll start playing well. Like they kind of had like a rough start at the beginning of the season, but then, you know, once they got their groove together, they started playing really well. And defensively, like I don't think he's really played with a guy as big as Drummond. Like he's played with tall guys before, like Dwight's tall and JaVale was really tall and LeBron's, you know, a couple inches shorter than him, but like Drummond looks like a freaking dinosaur. He's a monster. But I don't know. I like the spacing on the floor might be a little off for him. So I'm a little shaky on him, and then also Achilles injuries, man, they skeeve me the fuck out. Like I never know what to expect with Achilles injuries. I just like I'm honestly kind of dumbfounded right now. I know I was saying that AD's not going to come back as himself, and I'm borderline shocked that he's playing as well as he has.
KD, right?
Yeah. Did I say AD? Yeah.
I think you did. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm surprised that Durant's been playing this well. But on the other hand, Durant has been injured like all year. So how wrong am I? Now the Lakers, on the other hand, am I concerned in total? Not really. Like they still have LeBron James. If you want to ask me, how are they going to make it to the finals if all of the players aren't going to play that great and LeBron James is going to be on the team? Let's ask the last 10 years of basketball. Who's going to end up in the finals? It's a team with LeBron James and then another really good team. Like, if anybody wants to argue that, feel free. Yeah. He has taken so many dog shit rosters to the finals, and he's still playing really well. He's not really showing signs of age other than an injury that would probably tear the ACL of your average player, the way that his leg got landed on. I don't. And again, off of the shortened rest period, but when he comes back, they're gonna figure this shit out. He runs that entire team. I would like it if players like Wes Matthews started playing a little bit better, but I also really like what I've seen from McLemore. I'm not really too concerned about the Lakers. The one thing I am actually really concerned about the Lakers would be their seeding, because since they lost to the Mavs, if they have the same record to them at the end of the year, they would lose a seed spot to them if they're tied. So that could be really bad. I don't really want to see a team like the Jazz or the Clippers in the first round, but again, I'm also not that concerned.
Yeah. So with AD, like after this pod is like released and everything, there's going to be 11 games left for him to return. I think this is like the perfect time for him to come back. Because, like, the seeding, right, I feel like as long as they're not 7th and they don't have to play the playing game for some reason, like, I think they're fine. Especially, like, whenever LeBron comes back and, he'll be ready. I think he'll be prepared. It's like, you can't doubt him at this point. Like, how much evidence do you need for him to show you that he could come back, he could dominate everywhere. He can shoot threes. He can pass the ball. Like, and then to go off of like, I know it's a new roster, and they've just been depleted because they didn't have their two all-star. They didn't have their two best players, two like top 5, top 7 players in the NBA total, and they kind of like. They didn't play terrible. Like, they played pretty mediocre, which I thought was kind of impressive. Like, what Dennis Schroeder is doing, especially, like, the last game, I think is, like, very great. Like, you hit on Macklemore. Macklemore's been playing phenomenal. It's their front court that, like, Drummond kind of looked lost a little yesterday. He's been, like, up and down. But, like, the Lakers, if they're ready, if they're set, good to go, like, there's no way this team isn't at least making the conference finals. I don't care if they play the Clippers at first. I don't care if they play the Suns, right? The Jazz are, like, kind of in free fall right now. And the only team that I thought, like, maybe could give them trouble were the Nuggets, especially with, like, Jamal Murray, like, the gear that Jokic has been playing, especially on offense. Like, just these two juggernaut, like, one juggernaut offense versus one juggernaut defense just, like, clashing. Like, that was the team, but now Jamal Murray is hurt, and it just seems like... I'm not going to say the Lakers are going to automatically make the finals, but are you really scared of the Suns or the Jazz? Like, no, not at all. And especially the Clippers. Like, you play the Clippers, like, you own the Clippers. It's fine.
By the way, I know this is a little off topic, but why is Chris Paul not getting any MVP consideration?
Like, I think because it's
any at all
at top, but.
Well, I understand it's a jumble at the top, but, like, all of the candidates have been injured so much that it has basically taken them out of the race. And now we're about to give it to somebody like Jokic, who, you know what, if they gave it to Jokic, I wouldn't be that surprised, and I would probably be okay with it. But I understand that Chris Paul's counting numbers are not amazing, but you can't deny how insanely impactful he is to whatever team he goes to. Like, do you remember last year when we were like, the Thunder will be the worst team in the league?
Yeah.
And then they got the 4 seed, and they almost they were this close to beating the Rockets in the playoffs.
A Lou Dort's 3 would have.
Yep. But I don't know, man. I think, like, if we're talking the actual most valuable player in the league, the list is LeBron James, number 2 is Chris Paul, and then there's a large gap. A large gap. I don't care who number 3 is.
So, I don't know. So, Jokic, I think the Nuggets would be nothing without Jokic. Like, Jamal Murray is, like, the Maple Jordan of Canada. Like, I love just watching him play. But, like, if they don't have Jokic passing to all these players, like, look how unleashed Aaron Gordon is on the Nuggets. And that's because of Jokic's playmaking. And it's just like, oh, I could just make cuts to the basket and make these awesome dunks. Like, this is great. Like, that's all Jokic. And then Embiid, I feel like one thing that kind of counters it is just he has Ben Simmons to, like, supplement him. And the way that Daryl Morey has surrounded the Sixers with just, like, oh, like, Seth Curry and Danny Green can shoot. Like, this is great. We have so much spacing now. Just basically solved the problem in, like, 2 months. But, like, when Embiid, like, comes out, you can see, like, a definite blow from the Sixers and how they play. So, like, either of them win, I'm not too down on that. And I just think all of these players that we stated, they're incredibly valuable to their teams, and their teams are, like, relevant, right?
Yeah.
It's not like a Bradley Beal kind of statement where it's like, this guy's doing great. Like, yeah, the Wizards are a 10 seed. So... But yeah, Chris Paul, I agree with you, though. Chris Paul should get a little more recognition and should at least be shouted out just because of how good the Suns are this year. So, I guess that was any other NBA stuff, but do you have anything like your gears, any other thoughts?
I don't know. I'm kind of just ready for LeBron to come back and then for the playoffs to actually start. Like, I mean... God, I want the Nets to lose so bad. I want the Nets to lose so bad.
Brooklyn.
Like, I don't want, like, the 3 worst people in the league all coming together to make this fucking super team, and then just, you know that, like, if they were to win the finals, they are going to be talking such relentless shit for the next like 8 years.
Oh, it's gonna be great. I mean,
or forever.
Of it.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my god, dude.
Bring the championship to New York, but don't bring it to the Knicks. This is like ideally what should happen in New York.
I want KD to just shut the fuck up. I'm so sick of him. There are very few, if any, professional athletes like Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I've never been a huge fan of. Boat Brady has kind of swayed me a little bit in the other direction. Boat Brady's actually kind of sick.
Yeah.
But he's an asshole. I don't like how like he pretends to be like, you know, a G golly dad, and how people like pretend like he's the greatest talent to ever. Like I think we can look at this with context, and I think we don't need to get into that. But
no.
Like I can't stand KD in fucking every aspect of him besides his play. Like he is the biggest petty little bitch boy I've ever seen in professional sports, and it's not even close. And I know you like Kyrie. I want to like Kyrie. I really do. But I used to love him. I used to love Kyrie. He's just so fucking much. Like I can't. And then Harden, I mean, how much do I need to say about Harden, really? Like, who likes Harden, you know?
Like younger, I think Gen Z likes Harden. I think that's the thing.
Is really?
I think so. I think younger people just are like, oh man, look, he scored like 40 points last night. Like this isolation basketball.
Yo, did you see all of those free throws? Like,
yeah. Did you see that this game was 4 hours long because he had to shoot all those free throws?
Do you see how he like threw his arms into some other guy's arms so he could shoot free throw? Like I can't, like his game alone I can't fucking stand. But then year after year we talk about like how amazing he is, and then watch him fizzle out in the playoffs every single year.
Okay.
And then expect him like the next year to not do it.
To argue the Harden thing though, he's like pretty, I wouldn't say completely changed his game, but he's not as much isolation now that he's on the team.
That's true.
So,
that
like,
is true.
He has talent around him. He could do other stuff, right? And
that doesn't mean I should like him.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I totally get it. And he's kind of the way he handled leaving the Rockets. I could tell.
Exactly.
Like if you have bad taste in your mouth with Harden, like that's completely fair.
Yeah.
The thing about
not even that, but then also joining who he joined. Like,
yeah. I mean that's all fair.
It's creating a culture in the NBA that, honestly, in professional sports that I can't stand. Where it's like, no, I don't want to beat those guys. Just fucking join them, you know? Like, the whole you can't beat them, join them, that is not something I would want to fucking teach my children. I was like, no, keep working at it. You can beat them eventually. You work hard enough.
To rebuttal that, though, so LeBron and with Anthony Davis tried to recruit Kawhi and, like, failed, like, thankfully, because they still won the title and everything. But if they got Kawhi, right? If Kawhi actually wanted to be in LA and just wanted to be like the quiet one, like, wouldn't that break like his like? And he's done this with when going to Miami.
Dan, yes.
Yeah. We don't have to talk about this in much.
No. I agree with you.
Yeah,
I fully agree with you, and I'm pretty sure if you go back and look at the podcast back before that happened, I'm pretty sure I told you I don't want Kawhi to go to the Lakers.
Yeah, you did.
Because I would have fucking hated that. That would have gone against everything that I wanted. But I also don't think I don't like criticizing the Miami team because it wasn't like, hey, it's just like let's just fucking put this team together and obliterate everybody. It was, oh, Boston created a super team. LeBron, I can never fucking beat them just by myself. I need some help. Which I completely understand. But when it's Kevin Durant, he's like, you know what, let's take the 3 best scorers in the league and put them together after I just... Like, that was his retaliation to everybody criticizing him for what he did in Golden State. You know?
Yeah. So the thing about KD though that I just personally love and like which other people don't like is like him on Twitter, like that like brief like month where he was just like shit slamming everyone. I thought that was great. I thought like Katie on Twitter is basically like if the average person was like a megastar at something and was just like very like spiteful and just like like let me answer these tweets, like let me answer these haters or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then like also just like thinking about it though, like if I was in that situation, I don't think I would handle all that like negativity very well. So I kind of see where he's coming from when he does all that stuff. Um, but okay, so I'm gonna switch gears though, because the one thing that
Sure.
pisses me off in the NBA is this stupid play-in tournament. I think it's dumb. I don't understand. So now, okay, now you have 10 teams from each conference, so that's 20 total teams. Out of 30, so it's basically right. You got 66.67, whatever you want to get down to the digits, percentage of teams making the playoffs. Now, my beloved Raptors have had an absolute season from hell. They're playing in Tampa Bay, like they got hit by like COVID, and couldn't really recover from that. Couldn't really get back together. They're still somehow like 2 games back from that 10 seed, and I don't think they're deserving of a playoff. Like it looks like the Wizards because they've won 8 in a row. They've been just like red hot. Russell Westbrook is like averaging a triple double over the past 2 weeks or something like that. Like I like that they're good and they're like trying and all this stuff. I just don't. You're basically like the Wizards are 27-33, and they're gonna have a slight chance. Now the odds are against them. I get that they have to win 2 play-in games in order to make the playoffs, but it's just like the fact that they even get to play that, and it basically diminishes making the playoffs in general. And I just think it's dumb. I guess it helps tanking, but I just never had a problem with tanking in the first place. Like whatever, this month is kind of I'm not saying it's useless anyways, but like even with that not tanking, like these races aren't that important. Like are the Wizards gonna make it? Are the Bulls gonna make it? Like I don't care. This is dumb. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the 10 the play-in tournament. But.
Yeah, I honestly, I've got mixed feelings about it. I think there are some parts of it that I think are a little bit interesting. I don't know. I think it is a little cool that they give like these fringe teams a chance, but at the same time, it's like there are 8 teams on each. Like most of the teams already make it into the playoffs, so like why? I don't know. But the only thing is like when you get down to like those last teams, they all do have like really like usually. I mean, they have like a very like razor thin margin of like who gets in, who doesn't. Honestly, if the NFL expanded to that, I don't know if I would hate it because like, does anybody disagree with the fact that like a team like the Dolphins probably should have made the playoffs last year? Or do you remember that like the Ravens were this close to not making the playoffs last year? And I don't know. I think it would.
Yeah, I mean to go off that though, I just think the AFC playoff picture last year was just a little weird because you had a Colts team that was 11-5 and they were a 7 seed. So like I don't think that's gonna happen again. Like I think that team is most likely going to be 9-7, roughly around that range. But like so so NFL right, you have 16 teams, so 32. So if you expand that to the 20, which is roughly that 60% or whatever, maybe you couldn't really do 21, 22, but you're adding like what 6 teams to the current one that already is expanded. So I'd be pretty bad. And like so, me being as a Bills fan, like that year when like Andy Dalton hits Tyler Boyd, like got a fourth and whatever, I don't even remember, and it's just he went in the end zone. Like that was a great moment. That was awesome. Like
That was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, so like I feel like those moments will not be as great. Like when I think the Hornets are on, or the Kings are on like a super long playoff drought. They haven't won a playoff series in forever, like maybe like 15 years or so. So it's like when they make the playoffs, like that's going to be a great thing for their very small fan base. And then when they win a playoff series, it's going to be even better, which is like exactly how it felt being a Bills fan. So it's like, but when you do stuff like this, you're diminishing that accomplishment. When it's like, oh, cool, you made the playoffs, like whatever, you were 500. So yeah, that just bothers me. So, All right. After that rant, we're gonna move on to our mock draft. This should be fun. So we're gonna do the top 10 picks, and we're gonna do it based off of teams. So just to go off of who has the picks. So Jacksonville is first, New York Jets is second, San Francisco is third, Atlanta is fourth, Cincinnati is fifth, Miami is sixth, New England is seventh, Washington Football Team is eighth, Denver is ninth, and then we them boys are 10th that we both hate. All right, so I'm going to let you choose. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go second?
Should we start at the third pick?
I'll just go. I mean, we could just quickly go for the first two.
Well, let's start with this. We know Trevor Lawrence is going to be going first.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then the Jets have basically said that they're going to take Zach Wilson. And if I'm being honest, I think that was a mistake. Like, I understand that if you have a draft pick that high, you got to get a quarterback. But Sam Darnold, one, is so young. I think with Sam Darnold, we're about to see like a Jay Cutler, maybe better than Jay Cutler situation, where like he is going to have a total resurgence with that receiving core plus Christian McCaffrey, plus that really, really up and coming young defense. Like he had, and one of his receivers, Robbie Anderson. But like, I understand you need a quarterback, but you had a quarterback that had potential, and you fucking did nothing for him. Can you name can you name one receiver that was on the Jets last year?
Not at all. I was gonna be like, yeah, Robbie Anderson, he was there when Darnold was there, but yeah.
Exactly. So. I can't. Like the Brashad Perriman. That's the only one.
Yeah.
And I only know him because he was on the Bucs, and I have a friend that's a Bucs fan. Otherwise, I would have absolutely no idea. Because I know him, Mekhi Becton, like Frank Gore. That I genuinely think that those might be the only players I know that are on the Jets. It's that bad.
Well, there's like Marcus May. I think he's like a corner.
Marcus May's. I think he's a safety. He's
right.
pretty.
Yeah.
But like they keep drafting these really good players and then trading them away. They hit on Jamal Adams. They fucking traded him away. What you did nothing with Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell had potential. Like he was still good, but Adam Gase refused to use him. Also, you gave Sam Darnold Adam fucking Gase. Give him somebody who's actually going to do something with him. Like, you don't think a guy who likes to scramble around like Zach Wilson is also just going to get beat to shit? Like, get another tackle or get another lineman. Get a receiver or something. Get somebody. Get like Frank Gore. His kid is about to be in the NFL. And he's still playing. That was your number one running back last year. What? Like, whichever quarterback they're just going to ruin Zach Wilson too. Like, Zach Wilson doesn't have the talent to, I mean, look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had an okay season, but Joe Burrow had the greatest college football quarterback season ever, and he actually had people to fucking throw to. He had AJ Green. He had T. Higgins. He had, John Ross. He's not that great, but he's really fucking fast. They had Joe Mixon. They had guys. But, like, he's a new quarterback. You have to give him pieces to actually work with. And in Sam Darnold's entire career, Robbie Anderson is, like, the only guy. Of course, like, they set him up so hard to fail. Lamar Jackson could not have succeeded in New York. Like, I don't know. I'm pissed that they traded him away because I think Darnold actually could have been good. And I think he's going to be good I think he's going to be good in Carolina, and I think Carson Wentz is going to have a resurgence in Indianapolis. Indianapolis.
Oh, right, yeah. I don't really believe that. I think Wentz.
Really?
So like Wentz is something that like I would watch Eagles games and be like, wow, that was completely inaccurate. Like he's throwing pretty much to other team, or he's throwing like at the ground. It's just like
he was also throwing to like practice squad receivers who were actually quarterbacks and like third tier running backs with an offensive line that had maybe like one healthy starter.
Right, but like I don't know. Are you really that much of a believer in T.Y. Hilton? Like I don't. He's been so up and down for the past like 7 years.
Here's the thing. I don't think that it's necessarily T.Y. Hilton or Michael Pittman, but they do have a top 5 offensive line in the league. They have a top 3 defense in the league, and they have a really good run game.
All right, we can't go into this, but
well, actually, we're gonna bring it up later when we start talking about predictions. But yeah, and he's also getting reunited with Frank Reich, the offensive coordinator that he had when he was having his MVP run season. I think Carson Wentz, like in this new system, is going to have a resurgence here. But if you want to go with the third pick, you want to start off?
Just one thing, I 1,000% agree with everything you said about Zach Wilson. Just like the Jets in general. I think Zach Wilson maybe like I've looked at more stats now, or at least more highlights, and I think he might be legitimately good. Like I still worry just because he played like BYU and they played like this weird season last year. But I think he's just going to be messed up in New York. So going to San Francisco, I think it's just like they have to go with the quarterback too, because Jimmy G, as we've all seen, has not really supplemented them in that area. So I think they're going to go with Mac Jones. And I don't know if he is exactly their guy. I just think that like the way that Justin Fields has kind of fallen back, I don't think you could really go with that. Maybe you have some like doubts just with like the whole like Ohio State thing and just everything with oh my god, Dwayne Haskins and other things. And like I don't know, like Justin Fields, there was like I think a highlight where he just chucked the ball down the field and it looked great. And it just kind of reminded me of that like play when like Jamarcus Russell like was on his knees and he's like, look how far I could throw, and he threw like 60 yards through a like a field goal post. But I don't know. I think they need a quarterback. They have like everything else, and they were, a couple plays from winning from the Super Bowl like 2 years ago, and like I just think that them being in this spot is just like incredibly lucky on their part. And I think Mac Jones is the one that they'll go with. Going to Atlanta, who you got for them?
Quick thing on Mac Jones.
Oh yeah.
I agree with. I agree with what you said, and as a prediction, I don't understand it even a little bit. Like, why? What are you doing? What is their problem right now?
Well, their defense was great. Their wide receivers were good. Is their offensive line?
Their defense is amazing. Their offensive line is really good. Their receivers are really good. Their run game is amazing. Their weakest spot is at quarterback. And you have a guy who's not that mobile and not that good at decision-making as your quarterback, basically just getting by with an all-star team. So why would you get a younger version of Jimmy G?
Yeah.
That's exactly what Mac Jones is. Like, Pro Football Focus analyzed, like, the criticism of Justin Fields was that I think I saw this on Cowherd, is that, like, his biggest criticism was that he always goes to his first read, and that actually wasn't true. It was a debunked myth, and he was actually, like, the best rated off-schedule quarterback out of, like, the top 5, and the worst one was Mac Jones. Mac Jones also has a DUI, so like that's not great. If we're talking about decision making on and off the field as a leader. But what else I don't understand is Kyle Shanahan is like he's built his entire coaching regiment off of, especially with the 49ers, an unstoppable run game. So why on earth would you get the one quarterback out of the 5 that can't run?
Well, because he never needs a quarterback that can run. I mean, like achieved
Why
so much
wouldn't
with
you
Matt
want
Ryan.
one that at least has the option, though? You know?
Right, but like the way his offense runs is he doesn't need a running quarterback. It's just all this like motion in front.
He doesn't need one. But if he had one, like Trey Lance, then he would be able to create even better schemes with it. Like, it's just giving him options. Or, if you want a guy who can run and throw, Justin Fields is available.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Dude, it baffles me that Mac Jones is the guy that they're looking at. Like, the one guy, the guy who played at Alabama, who makes Alabama is known for being good in college and then being hit or miss in the league because Nick Saban is such an incredible coach. Like, if you look at Alabama's running backs, that's a different story. But like Alabama's like defensive backs, you got a guy like Landon Collins and Clinton Dix were like absolute studs on that team, and then kind of fizzled out the second they got to the NFL. Landon Collins had like a couple of good years. Was a Pro Bowler once, and then forgot how to tackle for like 4 years, and now he's out of the league completely. Like, Tua looked really, really good in the league, and then, gets to the Dolphins, and suddenly when you don't have Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs and Waddle and Devontae Smith, suddenly you're not that great of a quarterback. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like what I do think would be actually really cool. Can you imagine if the 49ers got Kyle Pitts?
What? With what's his face? Oh,
with George Kittle?
Yeah, like why though? Like that just seems like excess tight end talent, in my opinion.
I mean, there are plenty of people in the league that have two tight ends.
Yeah, but not like two like studded tight ends.
Two unstoppable tight ends. You know who the last people to do that were?
What, the Patriots?
The Patriots with Gronk and Hernandez.
Yeah.
How'd that look?
That was okay. That was fine.
It was pretty damn good.
Yeah. No.
Plus, when you have guys like Kyle Pitts and George Kittle who aren't just receivers, who are good at like bodying guy like ski. One, people are already putting Kyle Pitts in like the Hall of Fame, saying that like he is the biggest lock since fucking Quentin Nelson. And you have guys that like are fast, versatile, and can block. Like, there's a lot you can do with that, especially with a guy like Kyle Shanahan who likes having an insane run game. So, just throwing it out there. Like, yeah. I don't like Jimmy G, but I think it would be pretty sick. Like, I don't think Jimmy G is terrible. I think he is insanely overrated. But I think if they got Kyle Pitts, that would be fucking awesome. I mean, I wouldn't like it because they're in the NFC, but like, if I'm the 49ers, I'm taking a look,
Okay. Atlanta, though, who do you got them picking?
Atlanta's probably going to get Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Either that, I think it's pretty likely that they would trade out. But in this mock draft where we're not doing trades, I think Kyle Pitts would be the best choice. I mean, they don't have really. Who's their tight end?
They lost him, right? Or no, Hurst, right?
Yeah.
What's his face? Maybe he's pretty good. He's not bad, but like the way that they're talking about Kyle Pitts is like he is literally the next George Kittle or like Travis Kelce. So like, how do you not pick this guy?
Yeah, you can't pass up on him. He is everything as advertised.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they wanted to get like a running back,
that high though, you don't get a running back at the fourth pick. Right,
yeah,
so like I think you're right. I think
exactly. Well, I mean, I'm looking at like where their weaknesses are. You could get a running back, but that'd be way too high to get a running back. You get a defensive. You could get like your first pick of a defensive player, but like, is there anybody that you would want to take that high as a defensive player? So that's why I think that it's like likely that they would trade out of that pick because as good as Kyle Pitts looks, it's not really a high positional need for them. So really for them, it's like, do you get some, if they decide to go for something that they need right now, they'll trade out. Or if they're just best player available, it's going to be Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. And I think it just depends on that trade, like what is happening in the room. Like if they do get a good trade, then they should trade back. But if they just don't, they shouldn't look for some like a mediocre or a trade that they lose in order to just get back and fill a need. Like if they just have Kyle Pitts, like that offense would be humming too. Like Kyle Pitts in Atlanta would be great, just with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, all this high flashy stuff.
Imagine if Todd Gurley was like not a total shell of himself at whatever young age he is.
Yeah. That team would be ridiculous.
Dude, talk about like the shortest prime of any professional player's career.
Yeah. It's just sad.
It was like 2.5 years ago. He was like the best running back in the NFL, and then he just died.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. All right, moving on to Cincinnati is my pick. And they already had Joe Burrow. There's not a lot of great offensive linemen available, in my opinion. So I think you just go with the best offensive player or best wide receiver available, which is Jamar Chase, and he would have been the best wide receiver available last year if he was eligible. But here we are. He's here. He hooks up with his homeboy, Joe Burrow, LSU boys, and they're just going to go on a tear. Maybe, probably not, because the offensive line is still in shambles. But I just like that. I like his speed. He does all the route running like correctly. This guy is like NFL ready, like from the start. And it's just wild to see how many wide receivers are like this now. And just like how like committed they are to football. Like their ascension is like just like try to compare it to the NBA. It's just like how good people are at shooting threes already.
Seriously.
So like the wide receivers, I feel like him. We'll probably talk about Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith is a very interesting player.
Yeah.
To talk about.
Yeah, but just, I mean the wide receivers from last year, like T. Higgins, KJ Hamler, and these are second round picks. I don't know why I'm talking about second round picks instead of like
I mean there's
Lamb. But like
they're still so good though.
Yeah, they're so good. The past like 2 or 3 years has been ridiculous. But go Cincinnati, go small team. Ohio, I guess. I don't really know. All right, you're on the clock. You got the Dolphins. What do the fish do?
Now, quick thing, I'd like to also address the Bengals. I think that if I'm taking a guess, I think that they do go with Penei Sewell. I think he's a really, really, really solid tackle, and they do need to protect Joe Burrow. I can also see them going with Rashawn Slater. But if you're asking me what I want, I would love if they got Jamar Chase. I honestly don't think it's going to happen, but I've heard that they're actually looking at him. So it could. And I love the idea of him getting reunited with his college guy and then, getting a weapon, especially after losing AJ Green. Now, if we're talking about the Dolphins, I'd like to quick propose something. I don't think it's going to happen, but especially because they have Will Fuller and Devontae Smith. But how awesome would it be if they were able to draft Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith
at the same time?
No, because they have two really high. It's like what is their second pick? It's in like the mid-teens.
They have the Texans pick, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You imagine that if they were like, you know what?
Why not?
Tua, we're gonna give you both of your receivers from college, two of the 3 best in the draft, and you don't need to develop any chemistry with them because, duh. Like I think, they had one of the best defenses in the league last year. Mike Gesicki's not bad. Like they could use a running back, but are you gonna draft Najee Harris? I don't think so. Are they gonna get an offensive lineman? Who knows? Maybe. But that would be sick. That's what I would like to see happen. But let's say if they pick, okay, so I'm gonna go off of my prediction of what I think is gonna happen. If Penei Sewell is taken, they're gonna grab Jamar Chase. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they went with Waddle or Devontae just because of the chemistry that he already has with them.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see if they pick Alabama just over the fact that he went to Alabama.
Yeah, right. I mean, but how many years they played? Like at least 2 years together.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like it's like, oh hey, look, now you're going to be playing with Odell Beckham Jr. It's going to be cool, but like it's going to take some time to get to know what he likes. It's a guy that he has a ton of chemistry with. So he's like, oh yeah, I know when you like to break in. I know where you like the ball. Like, I that's one of those things in the league that I think was like drastically underrated. I don't think Jordy Nelson would have been as fucking incredibly legendary as he was on another team, but he had that insane connection with Aaron Rodgers, which made him, at the time, the biggest red zone threat in the league.
Yeah.
So I think chemistry is huge. So yeah. So if we're going off predictions, fuck it. I'm gonna go Waddle.
Waddle? Okay. I mean that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean I think they're gonna get Smith just because I feel like he's the better wide receiver, even though he is a little smaller. Like maybe he's not like the NFL prototype that you want.
If we're talking smaller though, you're gonna say Smith?
What is what I forget? I honestly forget how big Waddle is. This is how much I know.
Oh, sorry. I just completely I thought you were talking about Waddle for a second. Yeah, no. Smith
no.
Yeah,
right.
He weighed in at like 160 something. He is tiny.
He is a very tiny person, but like I think he'll be fine. Like, you put him at the slot, make him like run like quick like slot routes out of everything. I think he'll fine. All right, moving on to New England. And we're gonna change it up mid podcast because I think we're just gonna do predictions, which I that's totally fine with. So I think they have to get a quarterback here. I know that they've like, we picked Tom Brady in the 6th round, but they really do. And I think that they like Justin Fields just like falls to their lap, and they're just like, we could like groom this guy, we could fix this person. He is like, a more accurate Cam Newton, and like could also just learn from Cam Newton. There too for like a year or so, I don't know, or just fight for that position. I think this is a perfect fit for this team. I think 2 wide receivers will be taken at this point, so I don't think they'll want to get a wide receiver. And it's just like their need is quarterback. Like I know they also need.
Plus, they also just got like they just spent money. I mean, they spent a little too much, but they spent some money on some wide receivers, and they also got their 2 tight ends. So
right, yeah, good point. So
they just need somebody to throw the ball to them.
Yeah, John Smith. I forget who the wide receiver they got. But,
Hunter Henry, and they also got Nelson Aguilar.
Wow, right.
And I think they got somebody else too. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, who do you?
Didn't they get somebody from oh no, yeah, that was Nelson Aguilar. For the Patriots, Justin Fields, not even close.
Yeah. I feel like that's obvious. All right, Washington football team. Who you got here?
This is tough. This is a tough one. I wouldn't be surprised if they went with a quarterback here. Like,
yeah, I agree. By the way, but
like, so Trey Lance, right?
Yeah,
he's the last guy.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is great. My only issue with Trey Lance is when I looked up their tape, I saw like 2 passes, and I don't like that at all.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
FCS too. Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, okay, we get it. You can run around really well. So could Johnny Manziel, and I mean, as much as we love Lamar Jackson, he's really really good sometimes, but also really not that great sometimes. I just like, and again, same thing with Cam Newton. Like you had Cam Newton, like what year was it? Is he amazing or is he average? Like Cam Newton's career year by year is like a sine cosine wave. It's sorry for the nerds, for the non-nerds who didn't get that. It's like a roller coaster. But yeah, I don't know. I think they would probably go quarterback at this point, unless no, because their secondary was like one of the better secondaries in the league last year. It was like scoring guys.
And their defense, like Montez Sweat too. Like
they're gonna get another linebacker or something. Like
yeah.
No.
Their defense is fine. They just got to shore up on offense, and you already got Scary
Logan
Terry
Thomas
as a wide receiver. Yeah. So like,
how's their offensive line? I could also see them going with Rashawn Slater if they don't. It depends which quarterback is still available. In this mock draft, I think it would be interesting if you got just down to Trey Lance, because Trey Lance, you're going to be like, can he throw, or is he just like a gadget quarterback? You know,
right?
Like, am I getting Lamar Jackson or am I getting Taysom Hill?
That's a very big concern.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to see your primary ball thrower throw a ball. And I haven't seen enough out of that from Trey Lance. Trey Lance or Rashawn Slater, one of those two.
Yeah.
I think if I were them, honestly, I'd probably go with Rashawn Slater, because like you can get. I don't know. I just look at all of the talent around the league right now, and I know that anything can happen. But like, you got powerhouses to deal with, like the Bucks, and like the NFC is stacked right now. You want to like build up a little bit to get another quarterback to plug in. I don't know if they could use another guy on offensive line, or if they just go. Oh, but Trey Lance could run around. This is tough. This is really tough. This is a tough one. I talked myself into it. I would go Trey Lance.
Yeah. I also picked Trey Lance, but I could see Slater, especially if they need a tackle. And we talked about that they don't really need anything on defense. And then like also if Sewell's available here, I feel like Washington, it has to be like which players fall in a certain way. Like I think if Mac Jones is available here, I don't think they really go with him if he somehow falls.
I would stick with Fitzmagic, man. Like,
yeah, exactly. And then, like, I don't know if they're bad next year, then maybe pick a quarterback of the next class.
Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, exactly.
That's badass.
All right, moving on to Denver. So this team, this is also like a way that it falls to them, where if like as a quarterback is available, I don't even if it is Mac Jones, right, or if it is Trey Lance or one of those two. I think they pick that. But like their defense was kind of shaky. And like I feel like corners are very valuable in this league. So Patrick Surtain from Alabama, I think is just like a great fit for them. Like they shored up on offense last year with picking two wide receivers in the first two rounds. And I don't think if 5 quarterbacks are taking it at this point, I don't think they pick a quarterback. Now, right, if let's say Washington picks Slater, or Sewell, and like Trey Lance is there, or Mac Jones falls, like I can see them picking them too. What are your thoughts?
I honestly agree completely. I think you could go Patrick Surtain. You could also go who is it? Who's that? Who's the line? Micah Parsons. Yeah,
he's linebacker, and then that Notre Dame linebacker Jeremiah Sukoroma.
I think. If there's a quarterback available, they definitely go quarterback. But if not, probably Patrick Surtain. Speaking of which, I 1,000% believe Patrick Surtain is the best corner in the draft. I know a lot of people are saying, well, what about J.C. Horn? Like, I get it, and I get, his dad was a great player in the NFL, but like, just looking at their tape, I think it's pretty clear that Surtain's better. And just like a more technically sound player, that's my take. I really don't think it's that difficult, but yeah.
I mean, it's extremely disciplined too, which is what you need in the NFL. So like,
it's just crazy thinking that like it's only been a couple of years, and what was it like the no fly zone is just gone.
Yeah.
It's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Is Chris Harris still on the team?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. I think he's the only one left.
Yeah.
Or he's somewhere else. Who knows?
Yeah. All right, Dallas Cowboys. Who you got? Who you got here?
I don't know. What wide receivers are available?
Yeah, let's get another one. Offense only.
God. Like, am I drafting for the Cowboys, or am I predicting what I think they'll do? Because I don't know, man.
Do a prediction, but if you don't know, then that's probably.
I think at this point, if it's fallen the way that we think it's gonna fall, probably J.C. Horn. Or the way that it's fallen, we could say like a whole bunch of different ways. Like, has Rashawn Slater fallen? If he has, I could see them getting him, just because like that gauntlet of an offensive line that they used to had has gotten so beat up recently. Like, it's not nearly what it used to be. That 10-year contract for Tyron Smith isn't looking too hot right now, but Travis Frederick is gone, and La'el Collins is banged up, and Zach Martin's been banged up, and the Cowboys, they like their offensive lines. I'd probably go at this point J.C. Horn, just because their defense is dog shit. But I could also see them going with Micah Parsons. No, well, they have the Wolf Hunter and Jalen Smith, and they're paying them both way too much. Like, they can't just drop him. Yeah, I'm gonna go. But Parsons is an inside linebacker. Honestly, you know what? I'm gonna go with Parsons. Because DeMarcus Lawrence. Marcus Lawrence looks like shit now, and they don't really, after they lost Aldon Smith, they don't really like Randy Gregory didn't work out. Like, who do they have to rush the quarterback? And top three things that you need to be successful in the NFL: number 1 is quarterback, number 2 left tackle, number 3 pass rusher. So they don't have pass rusher. That defense is dog shit. If Micah Parsons is available, I'd probably go Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I mean, I think Michael Parsons. I wouldn't pick Michael Parsons, but if they literally just pick any defensive player available, I think that's a win in their book.
Oh yeah.
I personally go with Jeremiah Osu-Koromoa, just because he's like more athletic. He could pretty much do everything. He could like blitz, he could cover. He's like your prototypical linebacker, which I feel like is what people want to pick at that spot. Now, like, Parsons could absolutely be that same player too. So like I feel like these two players are almost interchangeable. And like I know I get your point where if they pick Slater, or if like even Sewell, if he falls down that low, they could try to look at that. But like I don't know. I think they just have to go defense in any position possible, because it's just like there's holes everywhere for that team.
The only rebut I would have to that is they did just pay Dak a butt ton of money, and Dak also just got hurt.
Oh yeah.
So I think I don't necessarily think that would be a driving force to decide. But I think it's something to consider.
Yeah, that's totally fair. All right, that is our draft predictions.
Before we go on to the next topic, who do you want the Bills to draft?
Oh, I don't even. This is like the first Bills draft where I don't even know like who they pick. Because first off,
really,
I mean I thought they had a great offseason this year. So they re-signed Matt Milano, which I thought he was leaving because I thought he would get paid. He got like legitimately paid for the Bills, which I was like, how did Brandon B do that? So you kept I forget. There's a defensive lineman that they also kept, and it was just weird because like what happens to the Bills is like they're just like, I don't want to play here, so I'm gonna go sign elsewhere for money. But then it was like, oh, this team made the AFC Championship. We had so much fun last year. They signed for less money, and like you lose John Brown, and then you get Emmanuel Sanders, which is like either an equivalent replacement or a better player.
I keep forgetting that they.
So like obviously you don't do anything wide receiver. You probably go defensive line, and that's part like 30, 31. I even forget when the Bills are drafting. I don't even know what that player would be. So yeah, I can't answer that. So Packers though.
My dream scenario, like I'm putting my Mafia glasses on right now, pretending I'm a Bills fan.
Yeah.
If they can somehow get Najee Harris, the Bills are going to be a problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The Bills are already going to be a problem, but that's with like you guys had a great passing game and then added Emmanuel Sanders. The only thing the Bills are missing right now is a run game. Like your run game is like design runs for Josh Allen, and that's about it. I don't think Singletary is going to do it. I think Zach Moss looks like a lifelong backup running back. Like, if you guys get Najee Harris, if Najee Harris is available when you guys are drafting and don't get him, I think that is immensely stupid. Like, I think I would love it if the Bills got him.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of drafting a running back in the first round, and I feel like they've kind of wasted, I mean, I understand it's a fill that they need, but like just picking a running back early, and they've already used a third round pick on Singletary and third round pick on Moss as well. So it's like, okay, we're gonna do this. I mean, I guess then at that point you're like, okay, like move up to first. But I feel like, maybe you can get Najee Harris. You won't get Najee Harris in the second round like that late. But like, what about a Travis Etienne, or I forget how to say his name, from Clemson? Etienne. I feel like that's a good running back pick.
Yeah, but why would you draft him when you have Devon Singletary? Like, Etienne's tiny.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he's like 5'10".
And let's also circle back to the fact that Najee Harris is a running back from Alabama. Like, you can't miss. If you get, even Eddie Lacy had a couple good years. Like, you don't miss with running backs that come out of Alabama.
Or offensive linemen. That's like the two.
Or offensive linemen.
Positions. Yeah, I mean, I'd be pretty happy at that point. But I don't know. I still kind of want an edge rusher. I just think that's a hole that they're missing.
That's fair.
So, all right, flip to you. Who do you want the Packers to pick? Do they have a first round pick?
Yeah. They have 10 picks this draft.
Ooh, okay.
You know, other than possibly trading Jordan Love to the Patriots to get into into the top 10, I think that'd be cool. But other than that, actually no, I think it was like the 15th pick that the Patriots have. Something like that. That's what that like piece of paper that was on somebody's desk in the Packers, draft room that somebody screenshotted. But yeah, I mean, get rid of Jordan Love. But anyway, if I really, really like the Packers roster, there's one glaring need, and it's actually not wide receiver. Like most people would think. I would love it if they got Greg Newsome, because Kevin King ain't it. Like, Kevin King.
Oh yeah, he ate shit.
I don't think like what's the best way to say this? Some people like their food crispy, but nobody likes their food like completely black burnt, and that's Kevin King. He is such dog shit. It's like he forgot how to tackle and then also never gets big hits. Like, why? What are you doing? As a rugby player, Dan, you know the struggle that we've been through, where our coaches tell us you got to wrap up, and you watch these NFL players just like, yo, let's see if I can get the biggest hit. Kevin King doesn't even make contact when he tries to do that, and it's all he ever tries to do. He's also slow, and just not good at football. So, I mean, like the inconsistency and lack of intelligence out of him, I want him gone.
That's fair.
Like,
yeah.
I'm so, like, I can't tell you what a slap in the face it was to, besides Jordan Love, but what a slap in the face it was to all of Packer Nation when Brian Gutekunst was like, you know what, Kevin King, contract, here you go. When the Packers have just never respected their cornerbacks or their defensive backs. Where, hey, haha, I understand he wasn't playing that well, but like Micah Hyde was really fucking good, and they were like, you know what, not worth the money, and now he's one of the best safeties in the league. And then you also had a guy like Casey Hayward. He was pretty good, not worth paying. And then one of the best corners in the league for like the next 3 years. Like, they kept disrespecting their defensive backs. And then they're like, hey, guy who basically lost us the NFC Championship single-handedly, this guy, we should bring him back. The guy who, half his career hasn't been able to stay healthy and can't play football. This is the guy that we needed for another year, So I hope we get Greg Newsome because he looks really good and he looks like he could drop. If we get another corner, I wouldn't be too upset about that. If we got rid of Jordan Love, I'd be really happy. But yeah, I guess that's just where I'm at.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, either wide receiver or corner at this point, I think is good.
Here's the thing. So we got Devontae, we have MVS, we have EQ has got potential. He's kind of hit or miss. But I think MVS is good enough to be a starter. And then people forget that we still have Devon Funches.
Yeah, but is Devon Funches that good?
Devon Funches, here's the thing about Devon Funches. Everybody says that he's not that good. Devon Funches was the number one receiver on the 15-1 Panthers team. And then he got traded to the Colts, I believe, like a year or two later. And then he broke his collarbone in the first game and then didn't play. And then he opted out last year. So it's been a minute. He is not like a polished route runner, but if you look at his tape, it's just he's a huge body, and he his entire career tape is just mossing people. So I mean, and we also have Alan Lazard, who I absolutely love. So I don't think it's a huge need, I don't think if we got a guy that was I think drafting a receiver wouldn't be the best move. If we signed a guy who was an established vet, I think that would be much better because the Packers are in a win now mode. Except for last year when Justin Jefferson was available, I wanted him really, really, really badly, and look what happened. I thought he was the best receiver in the draft last year, and I am 1,000% sure I was right.
Yeah, I guess I don't think Justin Jefferson was the best, but Justin Jefferson was a much better pick than Jordan Love at that point.
Who do you think had a better year last year out of the rookie receivers than Justin Jefferson?
CeeDee Lamb had a great year. Oh no, but Justin Jefferson definitely had a better. Okay, you're right. All right, moving on to NFL predictions, though. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a new upcoming team that didn't make the playoffs, a surprise Super Bowl contender, and then a dark horse MVP candidate. All right, I'll let you start it off. So new upcoming team.
New and upcoming teams. Give me 1 sec. I want to actually think about this for a second.
Okay, I'll go first, and then you can rebuttal.
I had one, and I'm trying to think of what it was, but right. do have like a separate prediction. I think this is my bold prediction for the NFL season is that one of the two teams, like one of these two teams, will be one of the two teams representing the AFC Championship, is going to be either the Browns or the Colts.
Okay, so I actually think the Browns could totally make the Super Bowl. Like, I'm totally staying with that.
I do too.
I'm kind of, I wouldn't say down on the Colts. I think they're just going to have, like, a similar year than last year.
That's fair.
They could make the playoffs. They could not. They're just going to be around where they were. But I mean, look what the Browns did this offseason.
The Browns had an incredible offseason.
Yeah, exactly. And they were, like, a touchdown away from beating the Chiefs.
Oh,
so
I thought of my team, the Panthers. I think the Panthers are going to have a demonstrably good, like, better year than they had last year.
Yeah, that was also my team. So
really
good call. Yeah, because I mean I completely agree with you when like Sam Darnold was like traded to this team. I think he's gonna like be in a new situation. He's gonna love it. He's got wide receivers all around him. Like if he doesn't even work out right, they still have Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think they haven't traded him, so they can still use him. Right? You got Christian McCaffrey. Their defenses, they got like new young people all around it. Like the fact that team was 5-11 last year. I feel like they played so many close games that they lost. And I feel like if a couple go their way, like they're like in the 9-7 range.
I think another one, like if I'm doing one for the AFC as well, you got to go with the Chargers.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Like again, same deal. Like lost so many close games, and they're getting Derwin James back, and they are like unbelievably talented around the entire roster. They have no business being as bad as they are. Anthony Lynn deserved to get fired.
Yeah. The decisions he made. I love Anthony Lynn as a person, but like the decisions he made, it was so justified.
The Giants also are a little up and coming too. I also think the Saints are going to take a huge step back.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that. So are they Taysom Hill? Is he just like their guy? Or Jameis?
I think it's Jameis.
Jameis, let's go. Jameis.
I think it's Jameis. The Taysom Hill contract is like full of incentives. Like it's just all incentives, and like the actual number is not a hard number. It's like when you actually like boil it down to like when you actually like crunch all of the accounting numbers and shit, it's not nearly as high as what it looks like.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's why everybody was like, what the fuck? Why are they paying Taysom Hill that much money? He's not even starting.
It's like, yeah, it's all incentives. All right, so surprise Super Bowl contender. If you had to pick between the Browns and the Colts, who would you pick?
If I'm picking between the two, I'm definitely picking the Browns, but I think that I think the Colts would be like a bigger surprise, but I do think it would be legitimate. Like I can see the Colts have a Super Bowl roster. Like if you have Carson Wentz, the only if they draft a wide receiver, like if they get a good wide receiver in this draft, maybe like a tight end, maybe like the number 2 tight end in the draft, like. What else do they need? You know, they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. You know, Quentin Nelson is going to keep him, really like 50 times cleaner than what the Eagles ever did. And they didn't really lose anybody on defense. They have one of the best defenses in the league. Like I think it was top 3 last year with like the Patriots and the Dolphins, and they have a really good run game with, I mean, let's not like downput Nyheim Hines. Nyheim Hines can play, but Jonathan Taylor is also really good. So they have a really, really, I'm only saying that by the way, because Nyheim Hines was on my fantasy team last year. He got me like 2 different like 30 or 40 plus point games. So, I think if Frank Reich can get out of Carson Wentz what he was when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, that is a really, really good team. Like, they made it to the playoffs last year with Phil Rivers throwing that medicine ball that he likes to throw. I think they're being overlooked a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I just don't. I feel like you're over predicting what Carson Wentz is going to be able to do in this team.
Sure.
So I don't know.
Prediction.
But yeah, that's true. There would be a surprise if they were there. So I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna go to the NFC with this one. And I'm gonna go with the Arizona Cardinals because I thought Kyler Murray would not be this good, and he completely proved me wrong. And then you add J.J. Watt, you throw in like A.J. Green.
Dude, their receiving core is disgusting.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Andy Isabella is their fifth.
It's so stupid.
Can you imagine if it was DK Metcalf too?
Oh right. Oh my god.
Which it could have been.
Right. Yeah. But like I think. Oh my god, who's that coach? The stupid like the one with the giant house. Failed to the top.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury. Thank you. So like he's the only reason this team would not get there. But I don't know. I feel like an offense like this good, like Kyler Murray just like running around doing his thing. And their defense, right? They still got Patrick Peterson, right? He's still there.
No, he's on the Vikings now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know. That was one that kind of like went under the radar.
Right.
But he's a lot older now. So I mean,
that's true.
By the way, Patrick Peterson. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Patrick Peterson was the best cornerback of the last generation. Like maybe Darrelle Revis, but. Over a career, if I'm taking Patrick Peterson or Richard Sherman, I'm taking Patrick Peterson.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'd pick Sherman just because he's my boy, and I just
love it. Sherman doesn't travel though.
Yeah, that's true. And also, like Sherman also plays like one specific area of the field, right? Mm-hmm. He's just like, I have a cover 3 corner, and this is what I'm gonna do only, or be like a shutdown. But like Patrick Peterson, I feel like is much more versatile and can basically do anything. All right, dark horse MVP candidate. Who do you got here?
Oof.
All right, I'll go.
I always want to pick somebody who's not a quarterback, man.
Oh, but you got to because that's just not gonna happen.
You have to pick a quarterback because every fucking year it's somebody else. Like. Unless Christian McCaffrey just loses his fucking mind. You know what? Who is the Chargers coach? Who's the Chargers' new coach?
Ooh. This is how, like, far off I'm not on the NFL right now. Brandon Staley. Defensive coordinator from the Chargers. Or not the Chargers, the Rams. So, he doesn't even have to move. I mean, he was really good. Like, what their defense has done, like, the past, like, 2 or 3 years, I think he's totally deserving of this job. And, right, like you said, if they get Derwin James back, like...
You know what, actually? Dark horse? We're going dark horse right now?
Yeah. So, no Mahomes, they're, like, Lamar.
I got a good one.
Yeah.
Matt Stafford.
Oh, okay.
Let's go with Matt Stafford.
The Fat
Dark
Rabbit.
Horse. Matt Stafford looks like Fat Rabbit. I dare fucking anybody to tell me otherwise. But Matt Stafford has been in the dumpster of the NFL. You know, people shit on the Browns, but the Browns at least were good at one point. Like, the Browns, you actually, like, before the Super Bowl existed, the Browns actually ruled the NFL. Like, when they had Jim Brown and Otto Graham, the Browns were sick. So there was at least a period where the Browns were good. The Lions have never been good. The Lions got lucky with people like Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders, and then they wasted their careers. Like, two of like the most notable early retirements in the entire history of the NFL are both in Detroit.
Yeah.
They went fucking like 40-something years without beating the Packers at home. Like, it's an insane fucking record that was barely broken because of Mike McCarthy. Like, Dude, no. Get Matt Stafford. I have been talking to my friend saying, get Matt Stafford the fuck out of Detroit. Because, one, I'm kind of tired of dealing with him. But also, I'm sure he is really fucking tired of dealing with us. And he's really, 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 really fucking good. And they haven't done anything for him his entire career. Have they had... did they finally get a 100-yard rushing game? Like, remember Joik Bell? Who's their running back right now? Swift? Is Swift their starting back? Are we sure about that? They got 3 guys who are that might be their starter. I'm not 100% sure. No, they are the dumpster of the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. The Jets were semi-recently in some AFC championship games. The Browns at some point in the league were good and are good now. I have never seen the Lions good. I've seen the Packers lose to the Lions. I've seen some good games by the Lions. I've never seen the Lions actually be good.
Yeah. Yeah, the Lions have always been terrible.
Can you name another team in the league that has been worse in your entire life?
I was gonna say the Jets, but they've made playoff runs in recent years.
With fucking Sanchez too.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of NFC teams, but I don't think so. Because Carolina made the Super Bowl.
Carolina made the Super Bowl, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, you got teams the Eagles are a dumpster fire right now, but the Eagles just won their first Super Bowl. You got teams like the Bills, and the Bills are really, really good now after being shady for so many years. You got the Bengals. The Bengals are kind of a dumpster fire, but the Bengals at least made it to the playoffs a shit ton of times over our lifetime. You have Jacksonville, who has notoriously been a dumpster fire, but they made it to the AFC Championship game. You could say the Texans, but the Texans, they were in the playoffs a couple years ago. They kicked the shit out of some people with J.J. Watt. We're really good with Deshaun Watson, but even if they weren't winning a bunch of games, also not really sure what's going on there. But
yeah, that's sticky.
Other than the Bears, maybe in my lifetime, but even so, I've seen the Bears in NFC Championship games,
And Super Bowls, right? They lost to the Colts that one year.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I would go with my MVP dark horse, and I'm going Derek Carr. I've always been a fan of Derek Carr. I think this is going to be his breakout year. Henry Ruggs is just going to unleash into the Tyreek Hill that he is destined to be. They added John Brown, which I totally forgot until I looked at their roster.
That's a fast
receiver. Fast wide receiver. You got Willie Snead too, who he's a little up there in age, but I think he could do great as a number one. And then you got Darren Waller, right? Darren Waller is
Darren Waller's really good,
right? It's Kittle, it's Kelsey, then it's Waller as tight ends in this game or in this league. I feel like Gruden has kind of understood what the league is at now. I think it took a couple years. The first year was just kind of
sir.
a show.
Excuse me for a second, but did you just disrespect Evan Ingram, who clearly has shown his incredible talent over the years?
I guess, but I'd still rather have Waller over.
Dude, I am being so fucking sarcastic right now.
Okay. Okay, good.
That was a shot at every single commentator who talks about Evan Ingram like he is a top tier receiver or a top tier tight end when he's done absolutely nothing to prove it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's he's got so much potential, but he hasn't really showed any of that potential coming to fruition in the 3 years he's been in the league. So what are we doing here? Why do we keep putting him in? He was just a Pro Bowler after not really doing much. Anyway.
But yeah, so Derek Carr, he's the guy. This is gonna be his breakout year. He's gonna be consistent. He's gonna be slinging. But I'm excited. I think he's gonna throw for 4,500 yards.
Derek Carr's to me, dude, he is such not when I say middle of the pack quarterback, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean he could be really good or he could be really bad. I have absolutely no idea. He's shown so much potential, especially, I mean, being in Vegas and on the Raiders, like, not really a great start, but I don't know. He's like one of those guys, like if I'm naming my top 10 quarterbacks in the league, he's somebody who's, I'm like, well, maybe we could throw him in there. Like, he's in the mix of guys that I'm just not sure about, honestly. So I think that's a good pick.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Yeah. I mean, I could also see him, I wouldn't say fall off a cliff, but be completely average. Just right, like you said, like right in the middle of the pack. All right, moving on to the political side. So there was I don't know. Definitely great news that Derek Chauvin was convicted on 3 accounts, like second-degree murder. I forget the exact cases. And then I feel like there's still.
I think it's unintentional manslaughter, second-degree murder, and I don't know what the third one is.
Right. So like great win because he's the 7th convicted police officer that in like the 15,000 cases that have happened. So this is definitely a rare occasion, and it should be a time to celebrate. But it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, like we had to have all of these massive protests. We had to have all of these like this video that we've all seen for like so long, and just like all these other things that are happening, and like it took that much to get like this little win, and I don't know, it's weird because it's like it's not a little win, it's like a huge win. To me, it's just like very conflicting. Like I should be happy, but it's like not,
It is. I feel the exact same way, and it is tough. Like you want to be really excited about this. That's your knee-jerk reaction. Is you want to be like, this is a huge thing when really it's not. Like it. Well, I mean I don't know, because it is, but it isn't. Like it took so much for a guy who just straight up murdered somebody on camera, on multiple cameras. Like when everybody was like like I don't know about you, my biggest takeaway from watching it. Did you watch it televised?
Oh no, I did not. No.
My biggest takeaway from watching it televised was like how much propaganda was like being pushed by the people who were sort of like running the news network that was following the case. Like I can't tell you how many times that I heard and we need to have faith in the system. We need to know that the justice system works perfectly, and although no matter what happens in this case, we need to know that like 99% of cops are good cops, and like I'm not exaggerating when I'm like these are borderline quotes that I heard while I was waiting for the verdict to come in, and the whole time I'm just thinking like that's not fucking true. Like I kept hearing people like defending policing when like the week before and then the day of, like cops are still killing black people for like no good reason when they can easily just be detained in like a million other ways and being vilified on different news networks. Like there was one cop, the cop that shot that 13-year-old kid, who was calling him a gangbanger on the news network, and then somebody called him out. I was like, why do you have to say that? Why do you have to, like, he was like, well, I'm just saying the facts. Like, yeah, but you're trying to vilify this 13-year-old kid.
Yeah. For,
like, you're trying to downplay his death. He's still a human being. But it was the propaganda that was just, like, absolutely driving me crazy. And there was actually at one point, it was like a panel of people, and the one black woman was like, I'm actually going to strongly disagree with what you said. Like, it's a good thing if he gets convicted, obviously, but like we need to, like, a huge part of this is being able to acknowledge how broken the system is, because it is incredibly broken. I could talk about this for hours on end, but I'm going to try and keep it short. The other thing was, what was it? It was a propaganda that was absolutely driving me crazy. On I'm blanking a little bit right now. It's gonna come back to me. But what was your takeaway?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everything was crazy. I feel bad because I forget the person that the Minneapolis police shot and killed, something right before.
Dante Wright.
Dante Wright, right. So and then this Mejia Bryant. I hope that's what she said. Micaiah, thank you.
Yeah.
Like that happened, and it's just like this happens all the time, and it's like you're almost like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like broken, but like you don't react to it as much as you did before because it's like I feel like
That's
it's always
the scary
happening.
thing, dude, is like how absolutely numb we are to it.
But then also,
wait, sorry, I remember what I was gonna say. Like the thing that was really, really, really like pissing me off more than anything while watching like the newscast before the verdict came in was that I kept hearing them say like we need to know that whatever outcome it is fully just, like the justice system works. We need to have faith in the justice system. But I kept also fucking hearing people say like, yeah, I mean like hopefully he'll get convicted, like, you know, he should get convicted. Like the way that everybody was saying it, it was so like clear as day that everybody who was commentating on this happening knew in the back of their heads that there was a very good chance that he was going to get off. And every single person was nervous about it. Like, I don't care who the fuck you talk to. Every single person was like, yeah, he should get convicted. Nobody was saying he's definitely going to get convicted. This guy that we saw fucking murder somebody on camera is 100% going to get convicted, and there's no way around it. No. Everybody was saying, yes, he should get convicted. Hopefully he gets convicted. Hopefully he's found guilty. Because every single fucking person in this country knows that it is 1,000% a very real possibility that he could have gotten off. And I honestly, like, if they didn't record it, he would have gotten off. Who would besides, unless you're like a delusional Republican, like, who would disagree with that? That if they didn't catch it on video, that guy would be walking free today.
Yeah, no, that he'd be 100% walking free, because then it's what the police said. It's like, oh, he was resisting arrest. Oh, he's like this big, African American that's...
He died because of medical issues.
Right, like he was on fentanyl, all that stuff. So it's like, I completely agree with that. And then the problem with the whole justice system, too, and we could, talk about this for hours as well, is like these lawyers or these police officers are the ones that are bringing like people who commit crimes to them. So it's like these judges like have to work with them. So it's like, oh, if you convict this police officer, then it's like, what if the police like don't really want to work with you anymore? And it's like the crime is rampant, blah blah blah, all this stuff. So it's like that's why it's like
or they're working with politicians to to get funding from shit, so everybody's scratching each other's backs, and it's sick and disgusting.
Right, but like when you're like at there, it's like, oh, this judge is here, and they're trying to be impartial, but they like can't really be. That's when you kind of think of like, oh, this whole like system is like flawed. I don't really know how you would solve that particular issue. Obviously, you try to use a jury and stuff, but like still judges can sway juries in certain ways, how you sustain things, how you overrule motions, all that stuff. So I mean,
you could also have it just tried in like a different district court where they don't know the police officer.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Or if somebody, like if a police officer shoots somebody, maybe don't give him paid leave, and then just instead of firing him, transfer him to a different precinct.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
That guy should probably just never have a job again.
Yeah.
Depending on the circumstance. Micaiah Bryant, I like that, like out of all of the police shootings I've seen, that's one where I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. At that point, it's a snap decision. That person is making a decision on somebody who is running at somebody with a knife about to stab them. Like, yeah, probably could have grabbed his taser, but somebody was running at another person with a knife with the intent to stab them. So, like, that one I would blame more on like police training than anything. And like used to deadly force, like, dude, shoot at her legs. Or don't, or use your taser. But I mean, I don't know about like a lot of like police training and shit, but we keep having these issues. But what I mean is that one in itself, it's a little more understandable, but in the large majority of the police shootings that we see, there are such easy fixes, and just like we continue to do nothing at all. And I just like we're numb to it at this point. I don't know how we fix it with most people who are police right now, I don't think should be police. Like, I think that the police system is so rotten at this point. Did you see the video? I shared it the other day. I think I shared it yesterday. It's a police who like goes around the country like training other police, and it's a video of him like joking with other police that there's no sex better than after you killed somebody, and it's a perk of the job.
Oh, that's a no. That's very bad. I did not see that now, but that's not good.
I'll send you the video after that. It's really, really fucked up, but it's the police culture. I've heard like personal anecdotal stories, and then also like secondhand stories from people I do and don't know, of people that they knew that went into like systems to become a police officer in different parts of the United States, and were basically either weeded out or brainwashed, where it was like they tried to figure out who were the liberal people and like not the fucking racist people. And this one girl that I was saying, she actually said she had a sister who got into the police force, and her sister basically told her, her sister got brainwashed as well, but she said that they basically find out like who's a Democrat, who is liberal and everything, and they basically just harass them until they quit.
That's messed up. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the reality that we live in, that most people in this country don't want to accept. They think that it is just a few bad apples, but like it's not the apples, it's the fucking tree, dude. It's the people that are training them. It's the entire system is corrupt, and it's not just policing, but policing is a massive part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think police is like the biggest thing. The whole problem with this whole thing is that it's all municipalities, so it's not really like you can't really do it from a presidential or like a national thing or like even like a governor. It has to come from like the mayors and all that other stuff, and it's just and like the thing is too, when people blame like Republicans, it's like the people who are in charge of these Democratic cities are where all these shootings are happening. So it's like, all right, it's like both sides. Like it's not, you can't just blame one. It's like a power structure that keeps us in place. So.
And that's an indictment on our political system. And like, I barely consider myself a Democrat at this point, man. Like, I don't think anybody's really looking out for us. The only people I really trust right now are Justice Democrats. All the people who pledge to take no corporate money in any of their campaigns, and even they have like been wavering a lot lately. Like they're getting a lot of flack. Like people like AOC are getting a lot of flack from the left right now for kind of like, not taking a stand on what they actually believe in. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, not using the leverage that they have and just kind of trusting that the other Democrats will have good faith and work with them when they won't.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's hard because like once you are more seasoned or you're there longer, you understand like what works. And I feel like her just, as good as her rants are and as good as like sticking to her like values, she has to get some stuff done, right?
I disagree. I think what they need to be doing is they need to be working and doing the same shit that they have just as much power as Joe Manchin. But the problem is they don't want to piss everybody off. They want to be liked. Like, they want to be able to work with these people who are just 1,000% unwilling to work with them. It's never going to work. It is never going to work. They're never going to be able to work with Nancy Pelosi. But they have just as much fucking power as people like Joe Manchin. But Joe Manchin gets whatever the fuck he wants, because whenever there is a bill that has a somewhat semi-left-wing liberal agenda, he holds the bill up and says, this is what I don't like, I'm not going to sign this unless we do it. And that's what I think the Justice Democrats and like the new people in Congress need to actually be willing to do. You have to be willing to shoot the hostage. I know it's a fucked up way of saying that, but like, it's the only way they're going to get shit done, is if they're actually, like, they can't be like, you know what, this is what we want, but if we can't get it, we'll still sign it. Like, which is what they've been doing. They haven't been using any of the leverage that they have. And that's what's so hard. Like, they're trying to work within the system that is already put in place into Washington, and they need to break it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to take a very long time to do it. And it's going to take all of the right people. And a lot of really, really old, terrible people just dying of old age.
Yeah. Bring the house down. All right, let's stop on the political side and start moving to the TV, movie, book recommendations.
Let's go.
And on a high night.
This is my shit, man. Let's do it.
So I'll go. So we've been watching, and we've kind of only watched like 4 episodes of the show, but it's called Search Party on TBS. So if you're a Arrested Development fan, so Aliyah Shawkat, or Shawkat, sorry, she plays Maybe, like the twin sister of Michael Cera. And basically, like, her like friend from college who like wasn't a real friend, it was like her acquaintance, she goes like missing in like New York City and stuff, and she's like very dedicated to like going and finding her and like and trying to like figure out this like murder mystery kind of thing, and then like things happen, but it's great. It's basically so it's set in like New York City, so it's kind of funny, and a little like the way they set up is kind of like Girls, but like not as like these people are super terrible people, but they're like pretty bad and just like stupid, 20-year-olds trying to figure out their stuff. I think it's great. It's funny. It's suspenseful. It's on HBO Max. It used to be a TBS show, I believe. And I believe there are 4 seasons, but it's been great. It's been one of my highlights of the week. All right, what is your recommendation?
I have 2, maybe 3. Movie wise, we just, the Oscars were last night. So I think I watched personally all of the movies that were nominated for Best Picture this year. It's something I do every year with my brother. My brother is a much bigger movie buff than I am. He watched every single movie that was nominated for anything this year. Which is,
wow.
Yeah.
That's a commitment.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's seen more movies than anybody that I know by a long shot. And personally, not happy about who won. Not happy at all.
Right? I thought Nomadland was boring. I couldn't get through it. Like,
I think it should have been a documentary. Like, I think it's cool. So I have a theory. I went back and I watched every Best Picture winner since The Godfather, and it's always like it needs to be like just a masterpiece or an incredible piece of acting or like a commentary on an issue that nobody's touched, or you have to do something groundbreaking that nobody's ever done before. Groundbreaking would be like, I know it didn't win, but like Star Wars. Like Star Wars, like A New Hope was nominated for Best Picture. That's because nobody had ever like made a movie like that before. Like, it was absolutely insane. But movies like what was it? The one about like all of the Boston Globe.
Oh, Spotlight. That's like my favorite movie.
Dude,
But
one of my favorite Best Picture winners of all time, if not my favorite. Like, it was fucking amazing. But something like that, like a commentary on something that isn't being talked about enough, you know, or like you know, Birdman was a really unique sort of like one shot movie. Anyway, so I think that's why it won, because it was like, hey, nobody really knows about nomads in the world, so let's teach everybody. But I think a highly underrated movie that was nominated for Best Picture this year, that was my favorite by a long shot, and if you like politics, the Trial of the Chicago 7 was like, it's one of those movies that like you just like at the end of the movie you're just like, fuck yes, you know, like you just viscerally feel like them. By the way, the movie made me viscerally angry throughout so much of it, and then by the end of it I was losing my mind. I was so happy. But also it's kind of really depressing because it kind of shows you like how little things have actually changed since the civil rights movement. There's a lot of parallels into like the current political climate, and then also they talk a lot about insurrection. So kind of cool to watch that when we just had one of ourselves. And then on the TV side, it's not a new show, but I just rewatched it because I needed like a something that I could just like kind of put on in the background. I like to pride myself on how many like mostly movies, but also TV shows that I've watched. There are two shows that I consider like borderline perfect. Like in the way that they were written and just everything that goes into it. And one of them is Futurama. And if you haven't seen Futurama all the way through, I think like as much as I love The Simpsons. I think The Simpsons is an incredible show. It's amazing that it's been going on for as long as it has. But there is a level of genius to Futurama that it goes so underappreciated. I think the ending of Futurama, the way that the show, like the finale is one of the most perfect genius endings to a show I've ever seen. And again, with the genius of the show is like, you know, they also won, I can't remember, it was like some scientific award for like creating their own mathematical algorithm. But the other show is The Good Place. If you haven't seen The Good Place, you need to watch it. It's a bit of a commentary on like what happens after you die, is the premise of the show basically. And then you get a lot into like moral philosophy, and just the further you get into the show, you also kind of get like that they don't directly say it, but they are 1,000% also creating like a commentary on like the current U.S. politics. Like there's a point where like they don't talk about like heaven and hell, they call it the good place and the bad place. In the last season, they're talking to some people from the good place, and they're like so overly nice, like they trust everybody, they're friendly to everybody, like overly friendly for no reason, and they're trying to come up with some like a solution to rival some of the people in the bad place. And Paul Scheer is one of the characters of like the people that works in the good place, and I like to think that this is a direct shot at the Democrats of the United States, but it was a line by Paul Scheer, I think, that was like, hey, we're the good guys, all right? We can't just do things.
We just have to be nice, you know?
Yeah. And then there was another like line later on, and it was like, listen, I think the way that we solve this is we just keep conceding our leverage and power to the demons until they're satisfied, and then everybody wins. Like, shit like that. Like, I am 90% sure that that's exactly what they're talking about. But I don't just watch it for the politics. I watch it because, like, the theories that they have on what happens to you after life, and you know what you should do with your life while you're on Earth, and like everybody's moral compass and how you should approach living your life. And also another thing, the diction that they use in the show, like they're living in an otherworldly scenario, so they can just make shit up. Like there's one part where the main guy is describing how time works actually in the universe, and how time on Earth is linear, and time in the universe fully is actually Jeremy Bearimy. And everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he was like, well, you see how time is linear on Earth, and he just draws a straight line. He's like, you know, this is the start, and then this is the end. And then this is how time actually works in the universe. And he just, like, writes in cursive the name Jeremy Bearimy, and he was like, this is actually, like, the line, but we call it Jeremy Bearimy because that's how it looks. And there's actually, like, a dot on the eye, and one of the characters is like, what the fuck is this? And he was like, well, that's July and also Tuesdays, and sometimes never. Like, they just make shit up like that, and it's so, like, it's so random, and it's so fucking hilarious. Like, I don't know. It's a hilarious, but also genius show.
Yeah, no, I love The Good Place. That's a great show. I should probably rewatch that because I only watched it one time through.
But like, so you've seen it?
Yeah, and then Futurama is one that, like, I've watched. I don't really understand, but I've never, like, sat down and tried to watch it through. And I feel like once I've done that, then I would get that show.
I promise you, it's so worth it.
No, there's like so many people that recommend that show that, like, it's okay. It's like at that point, it's like I have to watch.
It's like it's a good show to, like, sit down to and just, like, jump into an episode. But when you actually watch it linearly all together, it's like mind-blowingly incredible.
Right, that makes sense. All right, I think that wraps it up. Thank you, Fritz, for coming on. Do you want to showcase your dog thing for a little bit?
Yeah. If you live in the Rochester area, I watch dogs for a living. I don't do pickups anymore, but I watch dogs out of my house. I have a dog daycare. I got about, I think, 14 or 15 dogs right now. I take all sizes. If you need a couple days a week, charge $30 a day. You can find me. My Instagram handle is at fritzlovesdogs.alot, dog spelled with a Z. Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Okay. Yeah, go follow him. You can follow us on the Snowflake Sports Pod on Instagram at Snowflake Sports. You can follow us on Twitter at Snowflake Sports Pod. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Lucky Profession. But I've been your host, Dan. Thank you, Fritz, for coming on. And keep them takes soft and snowy.